Oceanside PD. He's been chief for about 4 months, 5 months now, since April.
Since April 1st.
Yes.
They made me the chief on April 1st, on April Fool's Day. So we'll see how this works out.
It wasn't a joke, it was a real joke.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We worked together for many years.
And I'll give you guys a little background about myself. But first of all, thank you very much for allowing me to come and spend this evening with you guys. I want to hopefully be able to provide you with some information that will be helpful to keep you safe and give you some informative information about your neighborhood. My name is Kedrick Sadler. I'm your Chief of Police here in Oceanside. As Kelly stated, I was appointed Chief of Police in April of this year after our Chief Fred Armijo retired after 31 years of service to our city. So I was blessed and fortunate to be given the opportunity to be chief, which I'm very excited about. I've been on with the department now for about 23 years. I am a Southern California native. I was raised in Long Beach, California, and then I found my way up this way when I joined the Marine Corps in 1996. So I spent 4 years right here at Camp Pendleton. Got out of the Marine Corps in 2000. I didn't have a job, so I was like, hey, let me go out and find a job. So I applied and got hired with the police department in 2001. Since being on in the department, I've worked a variety of different jobs. Spent my first 3 years as a patrol officer, so you can see me driving around here in the black and white, responding calls for service. In 2004, I got selected to be a canine handler, and which was, to this day, the greatest job I've had since being on with the police department. So I worked a canine from 2004 to 2012, and I had 4 different dogs, so it was pretty cool. So again, that was the greatest, funnest job I had, was being a canine handler. I learned so much. In 2012, I got selected to be a detective, and I worked property crimes, so burglaries and thefts and all that type of stuff. I worked that for a couple of years. And then I went over to our crimes of violence unit, which is, they investigate homicides and robberies and violent crimes. And I think, Kelly, you were a part of COV?
I was there for 10 years.
Okay, yeah, so she knows a lot more than I do.
No, I don't.
So I spent from 2012 to 2015, then I got promoted to sergeant and worked a variety of different jobs, and then I started slowly promoting to lieutenant and then captain. And then once we heard that our chief was retiring, I said, hey, maybe an opportunity for me to become the next chief. So God has been good to me. I've been blessed. I've spent, like I said, 23 years here, and now risen to the rank of chief. I do want you to know that I do take my job as chief very seriously. I understand that it comes with a lot of expectations, a lot of responsibility, a lot of weight on my shoulders that I'm prepared to carry, but I'm just glad that the city was good enough to give me an opportunity to lead this great organization. And rest assured, you have some great men and women in the Oceanside Police Department who are doing some really good work in your community. That goes for both our sworn staff as well as our non-sworn staff. Everybody has been contributing to our department, and we're healthy. Our department is doing good. We are having some issues with staffing, so we're trying to recruit people and retain people, but it's not something that's an issue just with Oceanside Police Department. All police departments are having a hard time hiring. So that was a little bit about me. So I wanted to talk with you a little bit about, quickly I'll go over my vision and my expectation and goals that I have for the department. And then we'll talk about what you really probably want to hear about, what's going on in your neighborhood, in your community here. And we'll talk about some crime trends and some rates around here. And then we'll also talk about some ways that you can better protect yourself and make sure that you're safe. And then I'll open it up to questions. And then if you guys have some questions for me, feel free to ask. Sound good? All right. So a little bit about me. So my vision for the Oceanside Police Department is that we become the regional leaders in the 21st century policing standards. And I'll tell you what those are. So these pillars are what is believed that if each police department does these things, we'll be a great organization. And the pillars are, the first one is building trust and legitimacy in the community. So it's very important that we have the trust of the people that we serve and that you see us as being legitimate. So we have to be sure that we're doing outreach, that we're working in collaboration with our community, that we're making sure that you guys are involved, that I, the chief of police, am accessible to you, that our police department is accessible, and we come to events like this. This is an example of building that trust. We understand as an organization, we work for you. Our Apache Say Oceanside Police, and our job is to serve you. You guys have entrusted us with that, and we plan on to carry that mission out. So the first thing is building trust and legitimacy with our community. The second is creating good policy and oversight. This is a huge piece, is that we have to make sure that we have policy in place that gives our officers and our employees guidelines to do the job that they do. And then we have to make sure that we are holding everybody accountable to that policy and to those standards, because that's what you guys expect of us. And it starts with me. The accountability starts with me as the chief of police. I have to make sure that I hold myself to a high level. And then we have to make sure we have proper oversight to make sure that our folks are doing that. The third pillar is technology and social media. So that's something we're trying to improve. When Kelly and I were back in the early 2000s, we didn't leverage and take advantage of a lot of technology. It was just hard-nosed, police work. But now everything is, you see it around you all the time. Everything is smartphones and cameras and computers and all kind of, cool stuff out there. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be a more technological savvy police department to keep up with the times. So we have, I don't know if you guys have seen it downtown here. We got cameras all along Coast Highway, down by the beach, this whole downtown area, because it's a force multiplier for our department. We're able to see those things. And then also social media. We're seeing that a lot of people today, especially our younger generation, they communicate a lot more through social media than we ever did. I still don't have any of those social media accounts. But, so we're trying to we hired our press information officer, Jennifer Attention. She's here tonight. And she has taken us to a whole nother level when it comes to the social media. So you guys who have social media accounts, whether it be Twitter or Facebook or what else is out there? Instagram, all that stuff. You guys have maybe seen some of our videos and photos. In social media, what it does too, it allows us to tell the story of a lot of the good work that our organization is doing. Because when it comes down to the news, you guys will see they're going to show you all the bad stuff. Because that's the stuff that people tune into at 11 o'clock at night. But we take social media, we take advantage of it, and we tell a lot of the good stuff that we're doing in our community. So, pillar number 4, and there's 6 of these, so we're almost done with this. Is community policing and crime reduction. So community policing, in a nutshell, is a police department working in collaboration with the community to solve problems. We understand now, not when I first started, I used to think that the police, you call the police, they come to your community, they solve all the problems, they fix everything. But that's not the case. That's not true policing. We need the help of the community. So we work together to solve the problems in our community. There's a part that we can do. There's only so much we can do, but we need help from the community as well. So that's what community policing is working in collaboration with all the stakeholders in the community to resolve whatever problem it is, okay? So whether it's homelessness, whether it's traffic, whether it's theft, we work together to figure out a way to get figure it out. And that's how we get to crime reduction. We reduce crime by using our community policing efforts. Pillar number 5 is officer training and education. We want to make sure that we have smart officers out there, right? There's a ton of new legislative stuff coming out from Sacramento. There's a lot of laws that our officers have to be able to understand and decipher and apply those different laws properly and legally. So we have to make sure that our officers are properly trained and they're properly educated. So one of the things, and it even started when I first started, our minimum standard is you have to have 60 units or an associate's degree to even get hired. But I can tell you of recent times, most of the folks that we've been hiring have at least a bachelor's degree, which is really good. So that we understand the importance of that higher education. And then training, it's continuous, ongoing training. So even after they make it through the academy and their field training and they're out there, we continue to train our officers to make sure that they're aware of all the new laws and that they know what they're doing out there when they're serving you. And then the last pillar, and a very important one, is officer safety and wellness. And that flows right into my first priority. And I like to say employee wellness, because an organization is not just, especially the police department, it's not just about the police officers, it's about everybody in that organization. And I have to make sure as a chief that all my folks are well and that they have access to resources if they need help. Because our officers and our non-sworn staff, they are subjected to a lot of trauma, a lot of emotional trauma. They see some very horrible things in our community, unfortunately. We're the first to respond to that stuff. And back when I started, it wasn't important to make sure that the officers were well. You just went to a call, you were expected to go to the call, take care of business, and you move on to the next call. But now we're focusing on making sure that our folks are well. So we have peer support, we have chaplains, we have counseling resources we make available to all of our employees, and we actually encourage them to take advantage of those resources to help them. So that way they're not bottling up a lot of the negative stuff that they have to deal with day to day. So we're making sure that they're well. So our priorities are employee wellness, and that's mental, physical, and emotional well-being. Addressing our staffing challenges. Like I said, we definitely have some staffing challenges. There's been a lot of negative light that's been shown on law enforcement in the past few years, 5 years. You guys have seen it across the news. So unfortunately, that's had a negative impact on our profession. People don't want to be police officers anymore because they just don't want to deal with a lot of the negative stuff. So that has been a challenge for us. And like I said, it's not anything specific to Oceanside. It's the law enforcement profession in whole, from California to Maine, is dealing with the same things. And then also retention, because now that our officers are being subjected to a lot of criticism and scrutiny, and they're saying, hey, you know what? I was going to do a 30-year career, but I'll take my retirement after 25 and I'll get out of here. I don't want to deal with this nonsense. So we're getting around it. We're finding some new innovative ways to recruit and retain people. So we're working on that, and I think we will definitely be able to fix that. Third priority is on more community engagement, like what we're doing now. I like to call it community involvement, where our police department is accessible to you, and we're more involved with you. So when you guys are having events and you say, hey, we want the chief to come out, or we want the police department, we should be responding to that just like any other call for service. So when you guys need us somewhere, you want us to be a part of something, don't hesitate to reach out to us, because that's one of my priorities, is that we have more community involvement and engagement. And then my last priority is reducing violent crime, and specifically gang-motivated crime. We had an uptick in gang-related crime last year of about 57%, which obviously is not very good. So what we want to do is make sure that we're staying on top of that and finding some more ways to reduce that. One of the things that we're trying to do is work with our youth, where the police department is having more ownership in helping our youth and mentoring them, because a lot of the violent crime that we're seeing, especially the homicides and gang-related, they're kids. We literally had a murder that occurred here a week ago, and the suspect in that was 14 years old. Can you imagine that? 14-year-old who committed a murder and shot another person. That's ridiculous. So we need the community as a whole to take some more ownership with our youth, but the police department, we're doing that as well. So we have a youth mentoring program called Oceanside Youth Partnership, where we meet with our high school age youth in our community, and we spend 16 weeks with them. So every week we have about 4 or 5 officers who meet up with these at-risk youth, and we just spend time with them, and we mentor them on, just different things. Try to help provide them with some life skills, and introduce them to some positive things that may change their life. So we have folks that come in, guest speakers that talk to the kids. We take them on field trips to different places to expose them to positive stuff. So we take them to college campuses, we take them to Camp Pendleton, we take them all over the place, but just try to expose them to some positive things outside of the community. And then the last thing we'll talk about before we move into what's going on around here is my expectations of every employee of our department, starting with me. The number one expectation I have is accountability. That's holding yourself and others accountable. So not only do I want my employees to be holding themselves accountable to our policy and our standards, but I also want to make sure that they're holding each other accountable. And I've made it very clear to all my employees, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing as the chief of police, and I'm saying this to you as well, hold me accountable. I shouldn't be here. Get me out of here and get somebody else in here. So it starts with me. So I'm trying to set that standard in our department of accountability. The second thing is I want to make sure that our officers are doing what I consider constitutional policing, and that's protecting the inalienable rights of all citizens. We deal with some of the worst people in the world, and we all know that. But guess what? Even those folks have constitutional rights. And it's not for our officers to violate anybody's rights based off of just what they did. That's why we have a court process and court proceedings. Their due process should be given to them, and we want to make sure that our officers are doing that. So I demand that, and I have zero tolerance for anything outside of that. We will be a constitutional police department, and we will protect everybody's rights. The third expectation is treating all persons with respect and decency. I believe that is very important, that everybody that we deal with, we give them the basic respect. The majority of our complaints that come through the police department, you know what people are saying? I felt the officer was disrespectful to me. He was rude, or she was rude. That's the majority of the complaints we get, is just treat people with respect. So all our employees understand that's what I expect of them. And I tell them, hey, treat that person like you would want to be treated. If somebody pulled your mother over, or your father, or your loved one and stopped them, how would you want them to be treated? Would you want somebody to be rude to them, or intimidating, or aggressive? No, you wouldn't. So treat them the same way you would want somebody to treat your loved ones. And then lastly is being positively impactful in everything we do. I tell our employees that every time we deal with the public, it is an opportunity for them to be an ambassador for our police department and for our city. That may be the first and only contact that person has ever had with a police officer. So you have to take advantage of that moment and treat that person in a way that will be positively impactful. When we go to calls for service, I don't want them to just go in there and take a report or doing whatever, but make it a goal of yours that when you leave that scene, that you try to change somebody's life for the better. Even if it's somebody you have to arrest. There have been people I've arrested, I've been taking them to jail, and on the way there, I'm counseling them about what they could do to better themselves and how not to find themselves in this situation in the future and the help that they may need. Here's some resources. Here's some things that you can do to better yourself. That's what I want our folks to do, is to go out there and be positively impactful in our community, especially when dealing with our youth. We have to do that, change their lives. And one of the things that motivated me and my desire to be a law enforcement officer was, I'm in a position that as a police officer, that's what you do. People call you when they're having the worst time, right? They don't call you because they're happy and things are going great. They're calling the police, there's probably something bad going on. But I always looked for, when I went to a call, I wanted to know that I helped somebody. And at the end of the day, that made me feel so good to go home knowing that I changed somebody's lives for the better, or I helped somebody. So those are my vision, my priorities, and my expectations. Anybody have any questions on that, sir?
Has the no bail stuff How has that affected Oceanside?
With the no bail, so basically a lot of crimes that were committed, we used to be able to arrest people, we take them to jail, and then there was a bail assigned that they had to pay a bail before they get released. Well, right around the time of COVID, that went away because there was a lot of crimes that we couldn't even put people into jail for that they normally would go to jail for because of COVID. And then after that, they went into this thing where we started hearing these arguments that the bail amounts were too high. People can't afford them who go to jail. So a lot of crimes now, there's no bail assigned to it. And how has it affected us? Well, now you have people who have committed a crime, aren't going to jail. So they're basically getting a citation and told to appear in court on a certain day. So there's really no consequence and teeth in what we do out there as police officers and law enforcement. Because if I'm a career criminal, I'm not gonna go to jail. All I know you're gonna do is give me a ticket. Well, what's gonna discourage me from committing more crimes and doing it again, right? There's a consequence. It's not supposed to be fun when you get handcuffed and taken off to jail and locked up in a cell. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be a bad time for you. But a lot of that is being taken away from us, that we're not able to put people.
On that note, how does that help, or how does that affect your morale and retention or recruiting? Because if you can't do your job, it has to be something you need counseling over.
Yes. It is a negative impact because police officers, they're out there every day working hard. Even our non-sworn who are behind the scenes helping us in doing this report here that was created tonight, that we're going to go over, was created by our non-sworn folks. So everybody's working together to try to reduce crime and make Oceanside a safe place to live, work, and play. So when we do the good work that we're supposed to do, we do our part, and then we deliver them to the justice system, and they don't do their part, it's very discouraging. It makes it feel like you did all that work for nothing. When I was a detective, it drove me crazy. I would work these extensive burglary cases where I would, I identify a suspect, and then I was able to link them to 12 different burglaries and all this property that was stolen, and getting all the getting some of the property back and returning it to victims, and search warrants and all that. I mean, a lot of man hours that were put into this case. I'm talking hours and hours of work. And then I prepare this case and give it to the district attorney and find the guy, lock him up, and the person gets probation, or they do a month or two in jail, and then they're back on the street on probation. So it's very discouraging. I had one case where a guy broke into a victim's house, stole about $10,000 in cash, went down to the casino, gambled, did down at Pachanga or something. And he had done other burglaries. He had priors for burglary. I arrested him, and he got, I want to say, maybe 2 months in jail. So you think about it, if I'm a crook, I got 10 grand, I got to go spend and have a good time, and I only got to do 2 months. It's like, it's worth it. So to your point. Okay, so we'll take some more questions when we get here to the end. If everybody's got their sheet, we'll go over it.
What does H&S mean?
I'm gonna cover all that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what this is a crime case report that I had generated by our crime analysis unit. So basically what they did was they did a 1 mile radius from where we're at right now. And basically they're showing us the crimes that have been committed from 1 year from today. So this is basically a year's worth of data. So this is, and you see it here at the top, during March through September of 2023.
Yeah.
This year, there have been 29 crimes reported. And I know for you go, man, 29 crimes? That's not a lot. So you guys are actually in a very nice community. This number is usually higher, much higher for other communities. So when I see 29 crimes reported, we don't want any crimes, but that's actually pretty good. So we see below, the majority of the cases were property or H&S related. So H&S is short for health and safety code, so it's drug related offenses. So anything drug related, you'll see H&S. So the majority of the cases were property and H&S related. So property crimes or petty theft, somebody broke in your car and, stole something, or someone stole something off the front porch. So anything $950 and less of property is considered petty theft. Anything over $950 is considered grand theft. So these were property cases, and then H&S related, those are just drug offenses. So this could be somebody in possession of drugs or under the influence of drugs. So during the same time period in 2022, there were 45 crimes reported, representing a 35% decrease in 2023 for this area. So crime has been reduced in this area by 35% in the last year. So that's actually pretty good. We usually see decreases of about 5% or 5 to 10%, and we consider that good. But a 35% decrease is very, very good. So there were 6 arrests in 2023 for the last 6 months. So in this area, there's 6 people that were arrested for, whatever. And then in 2022, the same 6-month period, there were 9 arrests. So the amount of people that we've had arrested in this area has decreased as well. So that's actually pretty good. And then I know this legend over here is not too clear, but you can see the types of crimes over here with the different symbols, and then you can look on this map here and kind of see where they're at. So for the most part, I would say that the crime rate in this community within a 1 mile radius is pretty low. We don't have any serious felonies, assaults, rapes, murders, those types of things. We don't see that a lot here in this community, which is good. The most of the stuff that you guys deal with are quality of life issues, like probably with the homelessness issues that you guys are dealing with, vagrancy, and like the report says here, drug related and petty theft property crimes. So, any questions on this report? Can I answer for you?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel that the private security company that's patrolling impacted this decrease in crime in the area?
They have helped us a lot. So the good thing about, and she's talking about, I don't know if you guys know about the security company Gatekeepers that the city and Main Street contracted with. So their job and their primary focus is to deal with homelessness and quality of life issues around downtown. So a lot of times what they do is they will go somewhere if we have a homeless person who maybe is on private property and refusing to leave, Gatekeepers will go over there and try to convince them to move along and leave. And then if that fails, then they'll call us. But they've been doing a pretty good job of getting these folks to cooperate with them and move along and pack their belongings and move. So that's kind of what they do. They don't necessarily solve the problem, but for the moment, whatever the issue is, they address it. And, usually it kind of moves on down the street and it starts up again. So
Are they a replacement for the officers that you have, positions you haven't filled yet?
No, absolutely not. So as security officers, you guys know, they're just private citizens. They don't have any more power than what you have as a private citizen, right? So they don't carry any weapons or anything like that. Their job is more so to be the eyes and ears for the police department, to help us out, just to be another set of eyes. And if there's a problem that they can solve, if it's something minor, like trespassing or, somebody who's, causing a disturbance at a private business in the downtown area, they will go and try to solve it and get the person to cooperate and diffuse the situation. But if it fails and they meet any type of resistance, they've been instructed to call the police, and then we come out there and take care of business. But they don't have the training or capabilities to deal with stuff that starts to escalate, and we don't want them to do that. But I will say their influence and just getting people, to cooperate it's helped us. And we've seen a lot less problems downtown, so. yes,
Do
ma'am.
the businesses help pay for that service?
Yeah, so the contract is through Main Street, and then you guys, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Main Street. They run the farmers market and the Sunset Market and stuff like that. So they represent all the business owners, and I think the business owners pay them some fee or something like that. And then they pay Main Street. And then there's some stuff that Gatekeepers does for the city, like the transit center, Oceanside Transit Center, that parking structure, they patrol that. They patrol some areas down in the harbor, so they're down in that harbor district, and then some other areas for the city. So, but they weren't brought in to replace us, they just were brought in to be kind of like a force multiplier for us, or extra set of eyes and ears. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you asked these people that are homeless or vagrants to kind of move on. Isn't that just kind of kicking the can down the road? I mean, is there anything that the police department does to enforce homelessness, or I should say, is homelessness illegal?
And I was just about to get to that point, so here's the deal. Homelessness has essentially been decriminalized. It is not against the law to be homeless. And when I was a young cop, things like sleeping in your car, you could get a citation for it, called dwelling in the vehicle. So if you're in a car and you're in there and you parked out in front of somewhere, I could give you a citation for it. Or if you were sleeping or camping in public on the sidewalk, a lot of the stuff that we see now that our homeless population is involved in, a lot of that stuff you should be legal, you get cited for. But the person is homeless, they don't have any money, what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna pay the fine? So somebody finally figured out that you can't criminalize somebody for being homeless, but it doesn't make it okay for their behavior, their activity to impede your quality of life. So they shouldn't be able to make your life any less, good because of what they're going through, unfortunately. So if somebody is on your private property, doing something, camping out, or they set up their little camps or whatever, you as a private property owner should be able to say, hey, I don't want you on my property, leave, and they have to leave. What they're allowed to do is be in public places. That's why you're seeing it a lot more where they're on the streets and the sidewalks, because that is considered public space. And we have a lot less enforcement powers there. So what the city came up with, because this was I'm not gonna get too much of the legal stuff, but there was a case law that came out that basically said, if a homeless person is in a public space, nothing you can do. They can camp there, set up their tents, and you guys seen it in Los Angeles with Skid Row. That's the reason why you see that. We had something over here in South Oceanside Boulevard a year or so ago where they had all the tents, because it's in a public space. Private property, they can't do that. So somebody homeless couldn't come here and set up camp out here on the grass or anything, because this is considered private property, they have to leave. So what we do now is we have a city ordinance that says, if you are camped in a public place, the police officer come up to you and say, hey, I'm giving you, you got two choices. You got 72 hours to vacate, pack up all your stuff and leave. And if you don't leave, the other option you have is I can put you in temporary housing. So that's when we give them a voucher to go stay in a hotel, or we have our homeless shelter that just started here. So we either have to provide them with shelter, if we make them leave the 72 hours, we have to provide them with shelter. If we have no shelter available for them, we can't move them.
Why do they have to move in 72 hours?
So, because what we're saying is, hey, we got a place for you, and they go, I don't want your place. I want to stay right here. Okay, well, you got 72 hours to leave. That gives them enough time to pack all their stuff and put everything together and move on. So it's either you take the housing or you leave. So before we used to try to make them leave, and then they go, well, where am I going to go? I don't have any place to go. And what do? They go right down the street and they set up a camp. So now if we tell them to leave, we have to provide them with housing. So we partnered with some of our motels here in the city, and they provided hotel rooms. And when we get them off the street into the temporary housing for like a couple weeks, the goal is to then try to provide them with some wraparound resources. So we have, at these motels, we have drug counselors, alcohol abuse counselors, mental professionals that are there. We try to reconnect them with their families, maybe make them more employable, try to help them with getting a job, getting a driver's license, get their social security card, anything to try to help their cycle of homelessness. Whatever it is that's causing them homeless, we try to, in that 2 week, in that short period of time, to try to at least help them or get them on the right track. So that's the purpose of that. We don't just take them off the street, put them in a hotel room or motel room for 2 weeks and not do anything with them. It's not gonna work. They're gonna be right back out on the street doing the same thing. So in those 2 weeks, we try to at least point them in the right direction.
How's that been working, percentage-wise?
We have 3 types of homeless folks. We have the ones who want to be there. When I say want to be there, you can offer them all the help in the world. And they're like, nope, hey, I got a job for you, a house for you to stay. They prefer to be there because they have no responsibility, do whatever they want to do, and it's like, I'm fine living like this. And we think that's crazy. You would think somebody offer you help, you take. Trust me when I tell you, there are people who feel more comfortable being homeless than they do living in normal society. So you got those folks. You got the ones who have mental illness, which, those are the ones that are more vulnerable. They need help, they can't really help themselves, so you have a lot of those. You have a population that is disabled, who have, medical conditions, or we've had a lot that we've seen who are like wheelchair bound. We have an elderly population within our homeless group, and a lot of it too is from the expense of rent. Just being able to rent a place. The rent increases have actually caused a lot of people homeless, to be homeless. And then, unfortunately too, you have an element in that population that are criminals who prey on the other homeless. So those are the ones that are out there selling drugs to them, taxing them, taking their VA checks or their social security checks, money, robbing them. We've had people shot and stabbed down in the riverbed areas. But there is a criminal element down there too that is amongst the homeless population. So what we do is when we get these folks is we try to find out, why are you homeless? What is going on in your life that's causing you homelessness? And that's what we try to do. We try to help them in their cycle of homelessness.
Is that part of the outreach program you have?
The outreach van,
Yeah.
the outreach van going around, and is it appropriate to contact them directly? Is there a way to contact them directly?
Yeah, so that's you guys may have seen it, but we have a homeless outreach team. So it's a police officer who is paired up with a social worker who specializes in homelessness and being able to connect our homeless with resources. We were actually one of the first departments in the entire county who started a homeless outreach team. Very good. And so we understand that we can't just go out and arrest these folks. So we actually have the officer, and you see him in the van, and the whole reason we have the van is that if we go to somebody who is homeless and we need to move them to a temporary housing, we can get all their stuff and their belongings, be able to put it in the van and transport them there. So a lot of times you'll see them actually transporting homeless individuals to shelters and other places, or to a hospital. They need to go. We got a lot of homeless vets out there, so they have VA benefits. So we'll take them to the Veterans Hospital to get treatment here on Camp Thornton, or I think down in Loya. So that's what that team does.
So if someone is having a mental health crisis or substance abuse crisis, I see it all the time. I walk the neighborhood. I'm a retired social worker. Is it best to call 911 or call this homeless outreach team?
If somebody's having, and again, just like homelessness, it's not illegal to be mentally ill. Obviously, as long as you're not assaulting somebody or breaking some crime, just having a mental crisis is not illegal. So I wouldn't call 911 if the person is just, you think they're in some type of mental crisis, you can call our non-emergency number. We actually have another team, it's called our PERT team, which stands for Psychiatric Emergency Response Team. So that team is an officer who's paired up with a psychiatric nurse, clinician, and they drive around together, and you may see the cars, and then when they go to a call, so if we get a call where it's somebody who's in a mental crisis, instead of just sending a police officer there to deal with it, we send our PERT team, so that way you have the police officer there for safety, because obviously, you know, something happens or the person tries to attack the clinician, want to have somebody to protect them, but we have the clinician who's trained in dealing with mental crisis, but you also have this psychiatric clinician there, who is a professional, healthcare professional, who can provide them that immediate assistance. And then what we do then, if it's somebody who's in a real crisis, we can actually take them into custody and get them to a hospital and get them the help that they need. So I don't know if you guys ever heard it, it's called a 5150 hold, you may have heard that term, but that is the health and safety code that gives us the authority to take somebody who's having a mental crisis, take them to go get the help that they need. Yes,
I
ma'am.
just want to say thank you, because we were the big benefactors of that one day when I saw an elderly man as I'm walking the dog, and he was disoriented.
Mhm.
And I asked him, and he came up to our yard, and then he wanted to give me money. And I said no, and we called, and then in the wallet, he was a motorcycle cop from
Oh,
LA.
wow.
And when we called your department, and we said, we got one of your own here,
Mhm.
those boys were in our yard so fast, were so respectful to this old man, and he had dementia.
Yeah.
He had been walking all night,
Mhm.
and he kept telling us, somebody stole my car, and he doesn't even drive.
Yeah.
But the research they did, and we spent hours, and then they ultimately, I think, took him down to La Jolla.
Yeah, he probably was a veteran as well.
Boy, the respect they treated, because my husband's like, you got one of your own here,
Mhm.
and then he was so excited to get into the police car.
Yeah.
You know, and it was really a beautiful thing.
Well, that's good, and we love to hear some positive feedback from the community on how we're providing service out there, so I like to hear stories like that, so thank you for sharing that. So next thing I'm gonna move into, and then I'm gonna invite our PIO up here to share some crime prevention tips with you, and then some other opportunities and events that are gonna be going on in the city to make you guys aware of it. But I wanna talk to you real quick about crime prevention. So a couple things that Kelly asked me to want to discuss was preventing crime, and also one of the issues you guys have been dealing with down here is traffic-related issues. So I'll talk about we'll into crime prevention stuff, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the traffic issues that you guys are dealing with. So some of the biggest complaints that we hear downtown here is number one, speeding up and down Coast Highway, loud exhaust of motorcycles and loud vehicles. And then we've been having some issues as well as with the electric bikes and motorcycles and stuff like that. So I want to let you know that the traffic related issues that you guys are complaining about, it's happening all over the city. I can't tell you how many complaints come into our city or to the department in regards to traffic related issues in different parts of the community. And I know most people are like, well, I don't care what's going on over there. In my community, we have this, that, and the other. So what we try to do, we have 7 motor officers who do our traffic enforcement. And what we do is when those calls come in, the complaints, we have to triage them. And then what we do is we'll have the motor officers will go out when they get a chance to address your specific problem. But we don't have the resources or the manpower to be in every street corner, you know, running radar and addressing the traffic. So what we do is a lot of times when we can't do it, I don't know if you guys seen the speed trailers, those are the ones where you drive down and it shows you your speed. We put those down as a deterrent, because a lot of people when they're driving, they see their speed pop up there, they're looking around seeing if a cop or something else sees it. But we do that because we know we don't have enough cops to be in that community, so we can put a speed trailer up. Also, when it comes to the loud exhaust, there are some more laws that finally came down from Sacramento that allows us to cite people for that stuff. So we're doing a lot more traffic enforcement as it relates to loud mufflers and exhaust and stuff. It drives me crazy. You hear these guys on like motorcycles or whatever, and they come down there and it sounds like a train, you know, coming down Coast Highway or wherever. We are aware of it, and like I said, there's new legislation out there allowing us to do some more enforcement, and all our traffic enforcement officers are aware of that, and they're trying to do the best they can. So what I would say is, as those, if you have complaints, you can go, probably the easiest way to do it is if you go online, you can either go through the city, and I think we have a link on our website where you can file what's called a public stuff complaint. And then that complaint will come into our department, and then we can get that to our traffic enforcement officers. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just wondered about the freeway because I don't drive it anymore because I'm scared of these people that are going crazy up there. Is there any way to put some those cameras up so that these people could be deterred from doing that?
Cameras
Up above the freeway, like on a light. I don't know if you're gonna do it, but
yeah, I can tell you right now, people can't say, oh, here comes those cameras. They're actually trying to pass a law now where they have these speed cameras.
Yeah, that's not.
Where they pick up your speed and they get your plate and then they send you a ticket in the mail. So that may be the new enforcement way here in the future here soon, but I know that's something that they're trying to pass now, and they're putting these cameras up. And I know that's gonna I'm gonna get tickets. So,
11 miles over.
Yeah.
they weren't doing that before this.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden they're all driving.
I don't think the cameras deter, because even when we used to have, it was a few years where we had the red light cameras up, people were still with red lights.
Well, I understand that part, but on the freeway,
Hey, when you drive 80 miles per hour, you can't just go camera. Is there other than the public stuff? Is there any other way they can complain?
Yeah, for traffic specific concerns, if you go to oceansidepolice.com and then you select our traffic unit, there's a tab for traffic. There's actually an email address there where you can email our traffic unit and give them some feedback directly. That'll go to that unit so they can specifically address their concerns. And what's really helpful is if you include very specific locations where you're seeing violations, time of day, maybe specific days of week, because a lot of times these are like patterns, right? So it's every Saturday morning when I'm walking my dog at this intersection, I see people run this red light, right? That's helpful. So they have some very specific areas that they can do some enforcement in. And they'll take that information and then they'll do their enforcement in those areas that they see coming from the public.
So oceansidepolice.com, click on the traffic tab, and then there will be an email in there. You can email the traffic unit, or you can also do a public stuff complaint as well. City website, I think we have it on our website as well.
The city website has also for graffiti, you were talking about the uptick of gangs, and the last few months we've had an uptick of tagging, especially around here. So if you take a picture, there's an app that you can take a picture and the city will get it done within like 24 to 48 hours and get it covered up. And with gangs and tagging, the quicker it's not seen, the
And it goes into a graffiti tracker
Yeah.
program that they can add up all the money, monetize it so they can charge these people.
Yeah, so if we do catch them, we can go into that graffiti tracker program and say, oh, you tagged up over here and over here and over here, and we calculate all the man hours that were put into that, cleaning it, and response and all that. And then once we arrest them and they go to court, we share it with the judge and say, hey, on this particular scene, we had to spend $1,500 to clean up this graffiti and have somebody come out after hours or whatever it was to deal with this. This is what it costs the city. And then the judge can then say, hey, I'm going to fine you $1,500 to pay back to the city.
Or they get them to do community service and paint.
Yeah, exactly.
Graffiti stuff.
Well, they should be good at painting.
Yeah.
But no, the response to graffiti has been very well in the city. So even if it's private property, somebody comes on your private property and they spray paint some graffiti or something like that, you call the city. If you allow us to become the victim, so we can prosecute, we'll clean that up for free.
How that works.
Yes, ma'am.
How large is the force? How many people and ancillary staff and, what What makes it uptick? How many?
So we are authorized 219 sworn police officers, which is a decent size police department. But with our staffing shortages, we're right around 200. We've probably got, we fluctuate between, about 19 vacancies. We'll hire a few, and then we got people who retire. So we stay around 200 to 202 maybe, and then we have several vacancies. On the non-sworn side, so our professional staff, we have 115 allotted spots that we can fill, but we have a lot of vacancies there as well. So dispatch, for example, our dispatchers were shortened in dispatch, so that may take a little longer for somebody to answer your call when you call a non-emergency line. Our records department, they're short as well. But allotted is 115 professional staff and 219 sworn.
You have volunteers also, don't you?
We have volunteers as well, senior volunteers. They do a great job in our department. They help us out with traffic control on scenes, special events. They do court runs for us, so a lot of our cases, they take over to the courthouse for us and they get court-related stuff. They also run our YAGA program, You Are Not Alone program. So our elderly community, they go out, they check on them, especially the people who don't have family or they don't live with anyone, they live by themselves. Our senior volunteers will stop by and just check on them, see how they're doing, see if they need anything. But they do a lot of good work for us. Even when we have, like a bad traffic collision, we'll call our senior volunteers out, they'll come out, block the streets off and do traffic control for us. So they are a great resource. I love my senior volunteers. So, yeah. All right. So, talked about that, traffic, and then I ended on this. Crime prevention. So remember I talked to you guys earlier about community-oriented policing, where we work together. So a big part of crime prevention is preventing the crime before it happens, right? That's the most important part. I'll give you a very simple example. When I was a burglary detective, I can't tell you how many cases I worked where people smash your car window and they snatch your purse and they run off, right? We had a series out at Guahomie Lake Park where ladies, specifically ladies, because you guys have your purse and you go out and walk around, you leave your purse in the car or something. But these ladies would go over to Guahomie Lake Park on their lunch break and they wanted to walk around the lake, get a little exercise in. They park their cars, and what do? You take your purse and you get out and you put it on the back seat, or you think you're hiding it under the seat, where these crooks would be over in the bushes watching. A lot of times or if you're smart, you put it in the trunk. But a lot of times they'll take it and they'll put it under their seat. So what they would do is they would see these ladies get out of their car and they know you don't have a purse on you because you're in your shorts, whatever, you're going to go walk. And they know, like, what woman doesn't carry a purse? So if the purse is not on her, that means it's in the car. And then they would let them go walk on the trail. And once they were good and on, they would go over there, smash the window, take the purse out. They would go, run credit cards up real quick, buy some liquor and cigarettes or whatever crazy stuff. And by the time the victim will get back to the car, they find their car is broken into, they call the cops, they have to wait for us to respond. And meanwhile, the crooks out there just using the credit cards. They already know you're going to call and cancel everything. But it takes about, an hour or so before you start calling credit card companies. By that time, they've ran up everything. So the prevention piece on that is let's prevent the crime. If you know you're going to go walking or something, don't bring your purse with you. Bring you something that you can carry on. Just something, you got your ID card, your credit card, or something that you can put in your waistband or something. So on something like that, we encourage people is do not leave valuables in your car. And anything that you may not even think it's a big deal, but to a crook, that's worth everything. It's enough to get a little bit of drugs. Don't leave purses, don't leave cell phones, don't leave jewelry, don't leave anything of value that is visible. Because essentially what these crooks do is they walk around, especially at night through the neighborhood, they peer into cars, and then once they find a car that's got something in it, smash your window and they take it. Now if you lost your property, windows broke, you gotta go through all this stuff with the insurance company, it's a mess. So to help us out, just do that part, that's huge for us. And other things, anything you can do on the forefront to what we call a target hardening is to make yourself less likely to be a victim. Do your part to protect yourself. Don't give out your personal information to people. You know, they got all these different scams going on. I'm quite sure you guys have heard about them. When people are calling you and saying, hey, I'm a family member and I'm in jail or I'm over in this other country. I mean, all of those silly stuff that they do, all they need to do is find one person to fall for that, and then, next thing you know, they're draining your savings. So those are the type of things on the forefront is don't give out personal information. If you're not talking to a person that you know is a family member, don't share any information with them or do any kind of business over the phone. So just think about that. Anything that you think you may be, even at your home, be sure that you're locking your doors when you're away, you're leaving your lights on, you let your neighbors know that you're out of town so they can keep an eye out on your place, locking your doors, cameras, if you can put those up, alarms, it's a cheap investment. I mean, I think you can get most of these companies that come out and put alarms and all that stuff in your house for free. They'll do the installation free, and then you just pay the monthly monitoring system. Those are things on the front side that you guys can do to help us. And then God forbid, if it does happen, you become a victim of a crime, then we'll do what we need to do to try to identify that person. So with that, I want to bring up our PIO, Jennifer Atenza, to share with you a little bit about some more safety tips and then some events that are going on. And Jen, tell me a little bit about you.
Hi everyone. My name is Jennifer Atenza, Public Information Officer for the Oceanside Police Department. I'm a civilian employee, so professional staff member. So you won't see me driving around in the black and white with a gun belt. I'm someone that works behind the scenes usually, unless we have a major incident, then you may sometimes see me appear on the news. I'm also like 5 feet tall and not the staff sergeant, so there's that. Can you all hear me okay? Great, thank you. So, a little bit about me. I joined the Oceanside Police Department about 2 years ago now. Came into the city, fell in love with the city. First time I stepped into the city, I'm like, this place feels like home. This place is magic. I love it here. Beautiful place to work, beautiful place to live and play. I was fortunate to land in a position doing what I really love to do, which is providing public information related to law enforcement. So supporting our law enforcement personnel in sharing their mission, their work, and telling the stories. So I have the great privilege of seeing the work they do every single day. I sit in a really interesting seat as a civilian personnel member that gets to witness a lot of the work that goes on behind the scenes and how awesome and dedicated these people are to what they do. And then I get to go out and share it with you all. So it's a huge privilege. I take it very seriously. I don't take it lightly, my responsibility, and it's something that I'm really passionate about and really enjoy my work. So I come to you after 13 years of working alongside law enforcement in another county. So this is not new to me, but doing it here is for the last couple of years, and it's been a wild ride. It's been a busy couple of years, and I've loved every minute of it. A lot of work to do. We're always busy. The city is very dynamic. There's always a lot going on, and my department members keep me running around a lot because they're doing a lot of great work. They're out there every single day. Just earlier today, I was witnessing one of our department members being recognized as a hometown hero at Petco Park for 2 decades of work that she's done for this community. And I've seen a lot of the work that she's done in this community where she's worked on really difficult homicide cases and really been a support for those family members throughout that whole process. So great privilege. Again, I absolutely feel very honored to be able to do what I do for the city and for the department. So my primary role is media relations. So a lot of my interactions are with the media. So I liaise between our police department and media. And just like our police department is a 24-hour operation, so is the media, 365 days a year. So it's very demanding. And as you can imagine, a lot of what you see in the news, right, is law enforcement driven. There's a lot of crime reporting, a lot of different controversies, different legislation, all kinds of different things that go on. There's probably about 80% of what you see go on your news is related to law enforcement. So it is a really busy desk to work for me. One thing that I wanted to share with you all while I'm here was our 9 p.m. routine. So something I've shared with a lot of our different groups as we go to different community meetings is getting into habits. Because When you get into the routine of doing things, right, it's easier, right? It's just automatic, it's muscle memory for you. So looking at your report here, based on activity in your area, you're doing great, but I do see here there was theft from a motor vehicle. So one is enough, right? Just one occurrence is one too many in your neighborhood. You want to have none. So one way that you can help prevent that happening is by doing the 9 p.m. routine. Making sure that whether you set an alarm in your home, whether you set one on your phone, on your computer, whatever it is, you know at 9 p.m. or if it's earlier, if you're like me and you go to bed a little bit earlier than that, it's okay, I do too. I get up really early, it's all right. Go ahead and set that alarm. Set it to remind yourself, okay, before I lay my head down, I'm going to make sure I took every valuable thing out of my vehicle. I rolled all my vehicle's windows up. I did not leave the garage remote in there. A lot of people like to do that. We don't use our garages to store our vehicles for some reason in Southern California. We have them, but sometimes we don't use them to put our vehicles in there. But we keep the remotes in our car. And then what happens? If someone breaks into your car, now they have your garage remote, you're more likely to become the victim of a burglary, right? So remove that from your vehicle, please. Valuables, windows up, secure, lock the doors, set the car alarms. If you have a vehicle alarm system that will alert with motion, it's a motion detecting alarm, beautiful. That will help prevent you from becoming the victim of a catalytic converter theft. It'll sense that vibration. So those are just a couple of things just to set your reminders. The other thing for your home, please turn on all your exterior lights. If you don't have them, having some exterior lights, we talked about target hardening. That's one way you can help make sure that your vehicle, your residence is much more protected by having that exterior lighting, motion sensing lighting, and if you have a home alarm, setting that at night. So that way if somebody does, you don't try to check the door handles. What we see a lot of is, I review a lot of video first thing in the morning. A lot of the videos that I review are from Ring. It's an app. If you have a Ring camera, you may be familiar with it. See a lot of heads, okay. Yeah, so the Neighbors app is wonderful, right? Because you can kind of see on other neighbors' videos what's going on in your neighborhood. And you know, what we see a lot of is people checking door handles on vehicles, right? And checking front doors, side doors. So in the middle of the night while you're resting. Or maybe you're away. So just making sure that you're getting into the routine of doing these things to make it harder for criminals. They're still gonna try, but you wanna make it tough for them. Because if you make it tough for them, you're less likely to become a victim. Another thing I'd love to throw out there too is our senior volunteers that we talked about, they do amazing, great work for us. One of the things they also offer is a vacation check program. So if you have plans to leave, go out of town, you can reach out through our website. You can also call, the numbers on our website as well. Let them know several days, I think it's 5 to 7 business days in advance of your departure. They'll take some information down from you. There's a form you can pull from our website and fill out. And then they'll go and actually check on your residence for you. They'll make sure that it's secure. They'll make sure that there's no doors open. There's no vehicles in the driveway that aren't supposed to be there. You're gonna provide them with that information ahead of time so they know, but it's just another great way to kind of have some extra peace of mind when you go away from your residence on a trip. So take advantage of it. It's free. It's something they do out of the kindness of their heart. They don't get paid to do it, but they definitely help us out by doing it, so take advantage. Another thing that never gets talked about, but I'd love to talk about it now, is, do you guys remember the club? The old school club vehicle locking devices? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. These things are really cheap now. They're very, very affordable. You can get them online for $10 to $20, and let me tell you, those are a fantastic thing to use everywhere you go. When you secure your vehicle, not only just locking the doors, but putting that device on, whether it's the one that goes on the steering wheel or they have them for the brake. There's a brake lock one as well now that's on the market. Those are fantastic things to invest in just to protect your vehicle. I know it's just an extra step, but once you kind of get in the habit of it, it's like muscle memory, it's not a big deal. And 9 times out of 10, a criminal is not going to take the extra time or step to try to steal that vehicle that has that device on it. So, just some fun tips to keep in mind to try to help prevent your vehicles and your residents from being victimized. And just kind of get in that routine. We call it the 9 p.m. routine. Like I said, if you're an earlier go to bed person like me, you know, make it to 8 p.m., 7 p.m., whatever it may be. But just so you have that reminder, so you're making sure, okay, before I lay my head down at night, everything's secure, everything is put into place. I will confess, I have been the person that sends out these notifications to our community, says, oh, make sure you do your 9 p.m. routine. And I have. There was the one time I was very, very tired. I got home from work very, very late. I crashed on my couch, knocked out, woke up like in a panic and ninja leaped off the couch at 4 a.m. Like, oh no, I fell asleep. And I had left everything in my vehicle. And everything was gone. So, and I felt, I couldn't believe it because I literally, that evening, sent out a community message to my community, make sure you do that PM routine, and then here I was, right? Oh, I was so gutted by it. And I mean, my gym bag, my work bag, everything was gone. And it was just a nightmare trying to replace everything. So, learn from me, take my example, and just make sure you take those steps to protect yourself and your items.
Did you ever get them back?
No, you know, I have a funny story. There was a weird, because my work identification was stolen as well. There was someone that ended up tracking some of the items down, not all of them. I did see one of my blazers on one of our unhoused folks when I exited the freeway one day. I was like, oh, that's a jacket. I got stolen in my vehicle, you know? It is what it is, okay. It is, yeah. But a few things got returned. Some of the serialized items, like identification, did come back, but not much. Yeah, so. Any questions about information I can provide you? I know we have talked about our website. It has a ton of great resources for you folks. OceansidePolice.com. We did just revamp it back in March of this year, so we are still adding new things to it. The department is ever evolving, ever changing, so is our website along with it. But there is a ton of resources there for you. You can look at some of the stuff that the department has going on. Current events are all placed on there, on the calendar. I'm going to touch on a couple of them coming up just so you have them. Let's see. First up, Tuesday, September 26th, we're doing Tip a Cop. So if you've ever wanted a police officer to serve you your dinner, this is your chance. It'll be at Texas Roadhouse from 5 to 9 p.m. And that will benefit the Special Olympics, an organization that we work closely in partnership to support our local Special Olympians. It's really, really awesome. And a lot of the Olympians come out that night as well, so they'll be there too. So, really cool.
I'll be there serving, I'll be one of the servers.
Chief's gonna serve you dinner. I mean, skip cooking. Tuesday, this September 26th at Texas Roadhouse, 5 to 9 p.m. Yeah, it's a good time, and it's good food. Let's see. Then,
Coffee with the Cop?
Coffee with the Cop we do once a month, every month. We just had one, and then the date I know is, we should have it pretty soon for October. I don't have it yet, but every month we do one somewhere in the city. We roam around everywhere. And we do them at different times of day, different days of week, different locations. So if you check back on our website, as soon as I get the date, I put it up there on that calendar down at the bottom of our site.
Is there a way to get notifications from?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you have any social media, that's one way. We put those notifications out as soon as we have the date. We put them out there. If you don't, that's okay. You can subscribe on our website to an email list, and then you'll get the emails. We send them out monthly. Yeah. And the next event we have coming up Friday and Saturday, September 29th and 30th. We're gonna have a motor rodeo in the East Harbor lot all day. This is really cool. This is one of the first times that we haven't hosted something like this in a very, very long time. My understanding is it's been ever, period?
Yep.
Okay.
So our motor officers from the county of San Diego, all the law enforcement motor officers, they're gonna come to the city for a couple days and they do all these like motor competitions and stuff. So it's pretty cool. You come out there and watch them and see them do all their cool tricks and stuff on their bikes, and they compete for points. It's kind of like a motor Olympics or something.
It's really cool to watch.
It's fun. So it's a fun time.
Yeah, very skilled, and yeah, they're coming from all over the place. So you get to see not just your OPD hometown folks doing it, but people from all over, and the proceeds will benefit a charitable organization as well for that. So that'll be really cool because we're hosting it here in Oceanside. The 28th, October 28th, so it's a little ways out. We're about, a little more than a month away, but there's a DEA drug take-back day at Tri-City from 11 to 4. Really want to emphasize this because we try to do these regularly. This is something where you can take any expired old medications you may no longer need, you may no longer use. You can safely dispose of them there. We found studies show that a lot of times, unfortunately, the home medicine cabinet becomes the dealer, right? And clearing these shelves out can help prevent loved ones from overdoses and all kinds of other issues related. So making sure that you're clearing your shelves of the things that you're not using or are expired, and doing it in a safe and responsible way is super important, instead of just tossing it in the trash can where maybe it can fall into the wrong hands and cause problems. This is an opportunity for you to do that safely. The 28th will be at Dia de los Muertos, Crown Heights, from 10 to 2. Having fun out there and celebrating the holiday. And we'll also be the same day, Saturday, October 28th, at Trunk or Treat at Buchanan Park from 2 to 5. So there's just a couple of the community events we have coming up. We do a ton of community events, so this is kind of just the tip of the iceberg. There will be more, I'm sure, that populate on our calendar over the next couple weeks for the next few months as we get into the holidays. Yeah. Anybody have any questions for the upcoming events? My pleasure, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Good evening, let's thank our new chief, please, and our public information officer for taking the time to come. Before we leave, we have Dirk McKenna to discuss the sand replenishment retention contest that Oceanside put out to the world, and give us a little brief highlight of it.
Are we already over the time?
We're okay.
Okay.
Make it short.
There's actually quite a bit going on with the sand issues right now, so I could go on and on, but I'll try to make it brief. 3 weeks ago, the city hosted a public outreach to unveil their brand new concept, Re-Beach. And I just want to get a show of hands of who might have attended that public outreach meeting at the city council meeting. Lane did. I remember seeing Lane, and of course Lisa said she was there, but she left. Okay, anyway, was well attended. We had about 300 people there, and it was like a 3-hour meeting. It was pretty exciting, where the city's Coastal Zone Administrator, Jamie Timberlake, initiated this design competition, this actually international design competition, and solicited to like 30 different design companies to consider options for sand replenishment and sand retention in Oceanside. Well, they've whittled that down. We have 3 finalists now that have submitted bids. And what I've got here today is the Re-Beach introduction, okay? And there's a QR code, so anyone that's interested in visiting the Re-Beach website, see me afterwards, and you can scan this and get that on your phone. But it's really interesting because it goes in depth with what the various 3 companies are proposing. And it gives a lot of opportunity for the public to criticize and to comment. And so this is a great period of time for public engagement. And so I really encourage anyone that's curious or wants to add their input to go to the website at this point in time. So the first meeting was August 24th, okay? The next meeting is going to be October 17th, where they'll review what the comments are received, and they're going to be getting more and more focused on what the design elements will actually be. And then there's going to be a 3rd meeting in December, and then in January the City Council will actually consider all the options and then decide which way to go with it. So it's pretty exciting. They're really fast tracking the whole process. So number one, we've got the city's Re-Beach project that's being tipped off. In addition to that, we have the Army Corps project. You might have heard about this last year when our federal representative Mike Levin secured a $5 million federal grant to get that project restarted. And that's a project with the Army Corps of Engineers, which is up in Long Beach, and they're doing a sand retention and sand analysis project that will look at various sites offshore to determine where some likely dredge sites might be for replenishing our beaches. And then thirdly, Sandag, which is the local San Diego group, and that includes all the coastal cities, and they're doing a massive sand replenishment project, and that's being analyzed right now. And of course, all these projects are years away because it takes so long to do the environmental permitting and get funding for it. So that's kind of where we're at. We've got 3 different projects that are going on right now with likely prospects of getting sand on the beach within the future. I can't really say when it's going to happen, but it's really exciting that there's a lot happening right now, and there's opportunities for all of us to engage with the city and the engineering companies as far as what we'd like to see. So, did you have any questions?
No, that was it. Thank you for the
If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take any more detailed questions or have you guys scan the QR code later on. So, cool.
Cool,
Thanks,
thank you.
Yep.
Thank everybody for coming and showing the support for our neighborhood. And thank everybody for their questions that were very topical with what's going on here. And another thing with these companies that I picked up at this meeting, that they are looking for solutions that will be easier to have the powers in Sacramento, such as the Coastal Commission, may recognize, because they are a softer approach than just putting hardscapes out to retain sand. And then also the importance of including all the beach communities on either side of us, so that we're not looking at taking somebody's sand from as the sand flows north and south. So it's a very comprehensive approach, and with, like I say, the other local cities kind of paying attention to what we're doing here, because it does affect them as well. Again, thank you all for coming, and have a wonderful evening. See you next month.